The story of the Ark and Dove. The Ark and Dove were two ships that passengers took from England to Maryland to start the Maryland colony. Today you will learn why the Ark and Dove was important to the colonists starting the Maryland colony. Let's review. What were some of the reasons why colonists went to Maryland? Say your answers in your head. Some of the reasons why colonists went to Maryland were to become wealthy, to practice their religion in peace, and to have a better life. Did you remember those reasons? Before we begin, let's review some vocabulary that's going to help us be successful today. Our first word is ton. It's a unit of weight equal to 2,000 pounds. A full-grown polar bear usually weighs 1 ton. Our next word is cargo. It's goods carried on a ship. Usually, those goods were carried in barrels like these. Our next word is masthead, the highest part of a ship's mast, way up here. Channel, a length of water joining two larger areas of water, especially two seas. And our last word, negotiate. It means to discuss something formally in order to make an agreement. All right, so let's learn some facts about the Ark and Dove. The Ark, the bigger ship pictured here, was a 40-ton capacity cargo ship hired by Cecil Calvert to transport about 140 colonists and their equipment and supplies to Maryland. The Dove, the smaller one here, was a much smaller 40-ton capacity cargo ship purchased by Cecil Calvert and the investors in the colony so that the colonists would have their own ship to use once the Ark had sailed for England. So let's learn about their journey. The two ships set sail from the Isle of Wight on November 22nd, 1633. 3 days later, a storm arises in the channel and the Dove is seen flying distress lanterns at her masthead before she disappears into the storm. Those aboard the Ark assume she is sunk in the storm. It is not until a month and a half later that they discover otherwise, when the Dove arrives at Barbados and rejoins the Ark. The Ark and the Dove arrive at Old Point Comfort on February 24, 1634, after a voyage of 3 months. This is here in the star. That's where Old Point Comfort is. On March 3rd, they sail up the Chesapeake Bay to the Potomac River, where they land on St. Clemens Island. They spend the rest of March exploring and negotiating with the Indians for a place to settle. So here's the Atlantic Ocean. They sail up the Chesapeake Bay, then down the Potomac River. Here is where St. Clemens Island is. And remember, there were Native Americans living here. So they negotiated with them and agreed upon a place where they would start their colony. On March 27th, the colonists depart St. Clemens and occupy the land they have purchased, naming their settlement St. Mary's. So right here where the star is, that is where St. Mary's, the first place where the Maryland colony started. So why was the Ark and Dove important to the colonists starting the Maryland colony? The ships transported about 140 colonists and their equipment and supplies, so it carried everybody across the Atlantic Ocean and everything that they would need to survive at the new colony. And it also gave the colonists their own ship to use once the Ark had sailed for England. So the Ark was used to transport, and then the Ark went back to England. And the Dove stayed there so that they would have a ship to use. I'm going to leave you with a fun fact. Passengers on the Ark and Dove would have eaten salt beef or pork, or salt cod or other preserved fish, a ship's biscuit, which you can see right here, was kind of like a very hard cracker, dried peas, beans, oatmeal, butter, and cheese.